everybody, welcome to SureFire Live. It is a special week this week. We are celebrating Veterans Day, and I have a couple friends of mine, true friends of mine, that are very heavily involved in veterans' lives, and one of them is a veteran. And thank you for joining us tonight. It's always special to get to talk to people and have a conversation about the business we're in, and we are in the business of people. So with that, this is a two-way conversation, so I'm always active on the comments. I think that's a big part of our show, and I welcome them. And especially tonight with questions, if you're listening to this and watching this show, you're blessed. You're fortunate. And a lot of us are very fortunate in the blue collar trades right now because we are so in demand. And so with that, I'm asking you to help others with that. That's really why we're here. And my two guests tonight are really exemplify that in their own lives. And if you want to be part of helping people, listen to these two guys and help them or create your own thing. These two guys had two way different ways to help, and I think you're going to enjoy their stories tonight. So with that, let's bring on my guests. I got Mr. Kevin Russell and Mr. Darin Bibeau. How are you guys doing tonight?
Wonderful. Good to see you.
Oh, so it's hat time, and we decided to be like Kevin Russell and wear and be like cowboy hat guys. Am I wearing it right? Oh, I had it backwards. Of course, I don't wear one every day.
And for you, Kevin, I'm in Carmel, Indiana, and I'm wearing a cowboy hat.
Go ahead. Just like the old times.
So, well, tell that story, Darin. That was part of Warrior Horse, wasn't it?
It was, and it was absolutely amazing. It was the first time I got to go to down at his facility that they were developing at the time. Oh, shut that off. Sorry. He was developing Warrior Horse, the actual. I call it a stadium, but I'm sure there's a proper name for it that you use, Kevin. And so we were filming, and I got to go with guys from Lindemann, and so Kevin goes, "You should wear a cowboy hat." So he gives me a cowboy hat on, and I had this whole theory what I was gonna say. I was excited about it, and the cameras go live, and I go, "I'm Darin Bibeau in Shreveport, Louisiana, and I got a cowboy hat on," and that's it. That's it. That's all.
Well, so that's the arena that was built. So let's just start from the beginning. Kevin, tell the people, I think a lot of people know who you are, but tell the people who you are in the chimney business and how did that translate into your program, Warrior Horse?
Well, I'll start by saying what you just absolutely hate me to say. I'm just little old Kevin from Frierson, Louisiana.
Yeah, you're right. I do hate that. But
I've been running a company called New Buck Chimney Services for over 25 years here in the Louisiana area. And I used that as my tool to develop the Warrior Horse program. So two of the gentlemen that you see before you this morning or this evening had an integral part of that, mainly Mark Stoner, because he's the first one that I actually approached with the idea of the program, knowing that I had to have somebody that was frying bigger fish than I would ever catch myself.
And that's not true. But anyway, I'm glad to help you. But you are frying some big fish. So you're in the chimney business, and you were always into horses, right?
Well, I've been into horses for about 15 years. My daughter Carly, who's a Marine, brought a horse home, a little 3-month-old horse, and I didn't know anything about him 14 years ago. And through her 4-H club and a couple of horse clubs, we found a program that dealt with relationships with horses, or natural horsemanship, really. And I made a bond with the horse, crazy retired 16-hand thoroughbred. And when I had that experience, I realized that could be used to help people. And it took 8 years to figure out exactly how we were going to do that.
So you fell in love with horses, and then you saw another program, if I remember right, that was helping veterans. And you started putting everything together by seeing another company that had a similar passion to what you wanted to do. Is that right?
That is correct. We were actually visiting Carly in North Carolina at Camp Lejeune, and I saw a special that they were showing on the TV in the restaurant in Red Robin, a matter of fact, that they were using horses to help veterans. And the bells and whistles went off, and it was so loud in my head, I'm surprised they didn't kick me out of the restaurant.
So you looked at it, you heard, and this is something that happens to me. When I look at something, I'm like, I can do that. Like, it just hits me sometimes. Is that what happened to you? Or did you, like, how did you take it from a TV idea to what it is today?
Well, I just knew, I had prayed diligently for 8 years for what my purpose was on this earth, because I knew it wasn't just to wake up in the morning, go to work, come home, go to bed, get up and go to work. I was sick and tired of that. All I was doing was existing. And after 8 years, I told God, I said, make it as plain as the nose on my face, because I'm little old Kevin from Frierson and I don't want to miss it. And when I saw that, the culmination of my love for horses in that exact moment when I bonded with Blue, I knew that it was a no-fail system. And then I came and saw you.
So when I met you, when you came and saw me, the one thing I could see in you was that you weren't afraid to reach out and get help and talk to people, and you didn't have an ego about it all, but you had a true calling of something you had to do, and you knew you're going to have to probably get some help and some ideas to get it off the ground. So, man, you went to town. I mean, you went from a situation where very few people knew little Kevin Russell from Frierson to an industry knew who Warrior Horse was and Kevin was in about 2 years. And it was because you were fearless about this program.
Well, the first thing you've got to do when you believe in something and you're passionate that it's bigger than you or bigger than an entire industry is realize that you're going to get in your own way. So the first thing I did was got the eraser out and got rid of my comfort zone. And once I got myself out of the way, it was real easy, because I was doing this to help others. If it was something for me, you would have never met me. Right. But this was something that I knew would help save lives and give relief to those that haven't been able to achieve it. And, I realized that there was just no way for me to do it by myself. I was going to need some major help. Yeah. And there y'all sit right there.
But I have to, Mark, I got to jump in real quick.
Please do.
He said he had to get out of his own way. And I'm going to completely disagree with Kevin. And I love you, brother. And that's why I'm wearing this hat, even though I'm already getting warm. So it's probably going to come off.
You can take it off.
But yeah, you weren't getting out of your own way. You were reaching out to people that you thought could help the cause that you were behind. And you were so passionate. I remember the first time that you talked to me, because John Meredith, I believe, and Mark had told me, and John Meredith came up to me and said, you got to meet this guy, Kevin Russell, especially as a veteran. You're going to really like this guy. And I said, well, listen, if you guys like him, for sure I'm going to like him. So I don't need to hear any more. And it was seconds in the conversation that, I think I always joke about you having a tear or dropping a little eye drop on stage. But the fact is, you made my eyes water the first time you told me about the program and your vision for the program. That's the most important part that I think people need to understand and realize. You had this vision, and I know you prayed for it and it came to you. However you got it, you chose this, or God chose you to do this, and you then went 100 miles per hour at 100%. And yeah, I had to get involved. It was like I couldn't say no to you.
So I want to ask you one more question, Kevin. Then I'm going to go to Darin, and I'm going to come back to you. But one Facebook user says, and I can't tell who says, little old Kevin is a rock star. So proud of you, man. That's cool. I wish I could. Somebody type in whose name this is. On my feed, it doesn't tell me who it is. So, Kevin, how easy was this to pull off?
Sorry.
To me, it was simple because, like I said, I was bored. I was just existing. And there's 24 hours in a day, and I was only using about 10 of them. So for the next 5 years while I developed it, I just used about 8 more hours out of the day and just did everything that I was needing to do.
Yeah,
to
but
leave.
man, I'm going to say simple but not easy, at least,
Oh,
because I know there were some real huge sticking points for you. I mean, all the way from getting the land approved to getting the builder to the rain to,
The
dude,
weather.
to the funding. Like, man, you went through a really hard time. So I need you to not say it was simple. I need you to tell us what it was like to get
well,
this.
simple doesn't mean it was easy. That's
Yeah,
two totally different things.
yeah,
Um, I was just blessed with a set of skills, so to speak, that when I do something, I'm hell bent. I mean, I won't take no for an answer. I mean,
you
that's
know,
even how I got my wife. I told her I'm not going to take no for an answer. And here we are 31 years later. But
well,
if you're passionate,
I think we just lost a sound on you, Mark.
yeah,
can you hear me now?
Yes.
yes.
Oh, my headset pulled. I said I saw you run into a lot of problems, but just no was never going to work for you. Like you just kept moving and making another call and making another, and praying and another little window or crack would open up and you'd push and see what would happen. And you got your builder that way and you got your funding. And I think there's something to be said about resilience that you have that's very unique.
Well, I don't know. I don't really view it that way because I look at everything that happens as an opportunity to learn,
Mm-hmm.
not as a brick wall that I've got to jump through.
Yeah.
And difficult or painful or however you find something is only relative to what you're comparing it to,
Yeah.
right? So,
Right.
In my past, I might have had a few more hurdles that I had to get over things, but compared to those hurdles, this was pretty easy. But it's because I was passionate and there are so many people that are out there willing to help with a cause if they believe in it as well.
Yeah, you help me see that you if it's burning in you enough, you're going to make it happen, and you're proof of that. So let me bring Darin up and talk to him, and I want to get back to you, Kevin, about what happens actually at Warrior Horse. But Darin, I tell people about your service, and then now what you're doing with the VFW because I see you all the time. You're in the kitchen for these guys a lot, and you're raising a lot of awareness for these guys.
Yeah. So I'm in the kitchen because I like to cook.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was in the Coast Guard and I was in the DSF program. I did search and rescue for a little while, and then I went into deployable specialized forces. So I worked with the U.S. Navy, British Navy, Dutch Navy, traveled all over the world doing fun stuff in my mind that I thought it was when I was young and was able to do it. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed my service, and I give credit to my military service to my success today. And then obviously there's a lot of other people that are part of that, but the foundation was built on my military service. So I feel obligated to help those potentially in need, that most importantly that aren't asking for it.
Yeah.
Whether that's financially trying to help them or trying to bring them into programs like Kevin's program, which I can tell you, my time down in Louisiana, I was blown away by it. To the point where, if I remember correctly, we were sitting in the hotel lobby at the Warrior Leadership Conference that we put on, and Kevin's like, "Well, maybe you should come down here and, as is it a guest? I don't know what you call the people that are there."
Well, just participants.
Yeah, participants.
Yeah.
And I thought about it because I went back to my room that night and I was like, "Yeah, this guy's and he wasn't in the military, so that's what really kind of blew me away. His passion to help people that have fought for our country, and I was like, this is amazing." So anyway, so I got involved with the VFW, Veteran of Foreign Wars, and I'm involved with the CGTLEA, which is an organization that helps special operators and their families if someone dies, unfortunately, or if there's a tragic incident. So what I do is I try to raise money for them. And one of the ways we do it at the VFW is I cook. And I love to cook. So, Saturday early mornings, I get there with a group of tons of volunteers that are all amazing people. And we put on a big breakfast from basically 7 in the morning until 11 or noon. And it kind of drags on because we keep serving people. And we raise money to help veterans in need. And
So
yeah.
it seemed like there for a while, obviously we weren't in any major wars for a long time. And then we were in Afghanistan, Iraq for a long time. So is the VFW becoming more popular with that next generation of soldier?
It is, and I do think there's a misconception of everyone knows about the Afghanistan war and the Iraq war, but there's been wars going on all around the world that people just aren't aware of, and so soldiers and airmen that go to these places that suffer from some kind of traumatic incidents like Kevin's got to help them. I think we automatically think Afghanistan and Iraq, which we should because it's been the longest war we've been at forever. Afghanistan was like 20 plus years or 20 years, and it's debatable if we're still there. And there's a whole bunch of controversy around that. But at the end of the day, when people sign up and say they're going to fight for this country, and whatever happens to them, we need to be there to help them. If they were there for 3 years, 4 years, 8 years, one of the vice commander at the VFW that I go to, I think it was 29 years Marine Corps. And, he got out a few years ago. So do that math.
Yeah.
Where has he been? You
Yeah.
want to talk about a guy who can write a book who has no interest in it, probably. And, he's over there on the omelet station banging out omelets because he wants to help other veterans because he knows what he's been through. And then when you start helping other veterans, it helps you.
Right.
And I truly believe that the more you help and you can give to people, it makes you feel better about what you're doing. And if financially you can't do it, that's fine. Figure out how you can just get your hands dirty and get in there. And if you can do both, that's the way to do it too.
I was reading a book for probably the 5th time, Failing Forward, and I talked about it last couple broadcasts. But
Great book.
In that book, it is a great book. But in that book, it talks about if you feel like if you feel like you're a failure or you feel like you've got it down, the surefire way to fix that is to go help others. Go get involved in helping others, and you almost can't feel sorry for yourself if you do that. And that seems like, not that you feel that way, Darin, but that reciprocity of helping and giving.
Yeah,
that's what we're here for.
And especially the VFW. There's a VFW. And I don't know if this is a fact, but me and statistics, right? I'm not going to give you a percent. But there's a VFW like in every city in America, right? And so immediately as a generation of my age, and obviously I'm getting older, but we think that this is an old guy or girl sitting at the bar and it's a smoky, dark place, and that's not the case. That's maybe the canteen, and that's what they call the bar, where people go and they have their drinks and eat their food. But the whole group has changed, and because the generation, they want to help more people. So you have Vietnam veterans that came back from the Vietnam War that were treated like absolute shit. Ooh, forgot, is this an E?
It's not a family show. It's a professional show.
Yeah, so they were treated like absolute shit, right? And now those veterans see what happens when the Iraq and the Afghan and the Somalian and all these other Panama, all these other veterans come back, and they take them in and go, hey, man, I'm here for you. So we learn from these guys and girls that have been, they did this years before us.
Yeah.
So the opportunity up for us to learn and help give back to the people that are getting out now, I mean, the world is truly our oyster to help them.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially let's talk chimney business for a second, Darin. You're seeing, as a supplier, and if you don't know, Darin is president of National Chimney, president, right? Or is that your title?
Yeah, president and owner.
President owner, yeah. So I think in our industry, what I find is most of the people are very giving, helpful people, and I think, and this goes for both you guys, that if you get to the heart of a chimney guy, I don't know why we're in the chimney business. I don't know how the hell we fell into it backwards, but we're here. And we're a unique group of people that really, truly care about people. And Darin, you're seeing probably in our industry, I mean, record growth of companies and use of our trade. I mean, what are you seeing out there in our industry?
Absolutely blowing up. Absolutely blowing up. The amount of younger and newer people in the industry, and the amount of we'll say more seasoned veterans that are now running it like a business instead of just saying, "Hey, this is my side gig." And the individuals, whether you're a one-man van or you've got 25 vans, you're looking about safety. You're looking about being healthy when you're on the job, and most importantly, making sure the home that you're going into is safe when you leave.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key thing that years ago, and I'm not saying, in the 70s, that's not what the chimney sweeps were doing, or the 60s, but I feel like today, with all of the education and media that's out there, it allows the professional that's in the home to really excel and do what they should be doing. And it's such a good group of people, and it has been for, the last 50 years.
Yeah. When we first got in the industry, or when I did, it was really about sweeping the chimney. That was the main thing you're there for. And now really the main thing you're there for is the inspection. The sweeping the chimney it's not secondary, but it's just one of the safety issues of a fireplace and chimney. And I think the better that we got at inspections and the better we got with technology and our knowledge of how the whole system works, not just cleaning creosote, it's helped our industry blow up. And I think there's also an audience out there, homeowners know, they're starting to know that there's a group of guys out there that are still in business. Chimney sweeps are real, and chimney technical companies are still out there that they're calling us, and we're all being blessed from it. And Kevin, I know that's kind of your story too, because you were a small operator, and you said, when you and I talked, it was like, how can I use the chimney, how can I get this to launch? And I said, man, build your chimney business up and get your word out in this chimney industry. And I think you can do it. And how's it going for you?
It's been going pretty well. We're just like everybody else. We're busier than we've ever been the past couple of years. I took the 5 years I was developing Warrior Horse to develop our chimney company as well. Yeah. And, it exploded.
So you're in Louisiana, which is not necessarily the hotbed of chimney industry, and you're still busy, right? I mean, what's been the biggest change in your business how long have you been in the business, and what's been the biggest change?
Over 25 years now. And the biggest change, as far as in my business goes, was the desire to get bigger. And of course, I had to do that in order to be able to help other people. Yeah. So it was a no-brainer. And Teresa was on me for years trying to get me to explode the business. And she still says, well, why is it that Mark can just tell you one time and you're off and running, and I can tell you for 20 years and you won't listen? I said, you're a stoner, for God's sake.
Well, also it's a wife versus, somebody on the outside. And so tell everybody kind of how horse therapy helps people with PTSD. I think if you don't know your story, that's kind of a weird leap to make. If you don't know why horses, how does that help PTSD? So could you explain to people how this works?
Well, the beauty of the program is, and it's not just the horses, it's the individuals that are in here running the program, and me and my other instructor, our board members that participate. And we provide a non-judgmental environment. It's 100% non-judgmental, both human and horse. It's natural for horses to be non-judgmental because they just don't care. Horses live for the moment. You don't see any horse with a watch on their arm looking forward to what's coming or looking back on the past. They just live for right now. And the reason the program works so well is because it's non-judgmental with the humans as well. Y'all have both been around me, And you know the aura that's given off. It's non-judgmental. I could care less. I love you to death. Your past is yours. Your future is yours. I'm with you right now. What can I help you with right now? And we meet everybody that comes to the program exactly where they are in their journey. And that's what makes it so beautiful, because they know that they're finally in an area that they can let their guard down and be 100% vulnerable to humans and horses. And it starts developing their trust abilities again. Because
why does it matter to have a horse in the mix? Why can't somebody just get it from another human? I know there's different ways, but what is different? Why is a horse important in your program?
Because it's kind of difficult to explain, but it deals with the heart. It's the deepest, most intricate part of the human being. And you basically make a bond with the horse. You go out there and through a carefully orchestrated sequence in the round pen, one-on-one, you work with the horse through the techniques that you learn in the cabin through a PowerPoint presentation. And you come to a point of mutual trust between the horse and the human. And the fact that you're out there with something that's 1,500 pounds that you don't know how they're going to act or react, and you're trying to get this big beast to go around in the round pen and get them to stop and invite them into your territory, and you basically have to prove yourself as a leader to the horse. And that develops the trust. And then when you invite the horse in, that develops the bond. And when the bond occurs, it triggers a release within the first responder or the veteran, whoever's in the program, the participant, and you can literally see the weight fall off their shoulder. And their total demeanor changes because it's mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional all at the same time. And there's no way you can fight it. You might be able to fight one factor at a time, but when it comes bombarding you, there's no way to fight it. And it's a total release finally.
So tell me a story about what that manifests itself into. Tell me how you see that. Is it just a breakdown? Is it a joyous thing? Is it a crying thing? Is it how does that look? I guess it's all different ways probably.
Well, I can't get too deep.
Because you'll start crying.
Because I'll lose it.
We're here for you.
Yeah.
Okay. And I appreciate that.
We're horses.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's every one of them. Their body language just changes because they're out there basically wrestling a 1,500 pound animal that they don't know anything about. And when that bond occurs, their shoulders drop, their head drops down. Most of the time there's tears involved. It doesn't start with me out there, okay? It starts with whoever's in the pen with the horse will start tearing up because of the release. It's just, I don't know. It's a feeling that you need to experience, and you guys both are going to end up down here to experience it as a participant and as an onlooker.
We need to see it. So, Darin, have you dealt with guys with PTSD through the VFW, and how does your program help people like Kevin? Obviously, they can bond with that. They can kind of release and maybe get through the shell, and they can get back to being themselves. Like, what do you see with helping veterans?
Well, I think that's, and I don't want to say a loaded question because I don't know the exact numbers, but I feel like I remember reading this. It's like 50% of veterans that come back from being in the military have PTSD or traumatic brain injury. And out of that 50%, only 1/3 will go get help. So if you do that math, you see that many people that need help, that either one, they don't know they need help, or two, they don't want to ask for help, three, they don't know how to get help. One of the good things about the VFW, and other organizations as well. But one of the good things about the VFW is they have all of the opportunity to help the veteran, regardless of the veteran's social status, regardless of how much money they have, regardless if they're from the same town. I mean, even to little things, like if you're driving through past the VFW that I'm part of, which is 10003, that's the post number, you can go into the canteen and say, listen, I'm a veteran and I'm down on my luck and I don't have any money for my gas to get to go see my brother or go see my mom. And we have gas cards that we'll give them. And, you know, we're always raising money to try to help veterans with whatever that is, whether it's getting homeless veterans socks, or if it's getting food for them, or if we're doing a golf tournament to raise money for children of veterans in another state. So we're constantly raising money, but the end goal is for the VFW, it's veterans helping veterans. Right. And then we have an auxiliary, which is if your family member was a veteran of a war, you could be a member. And we have such a strong auxiliary membership at the VFW I'm part of. And these guys and girls are constantly trying to help veterans. And it's not just post-traumatic stress disorder. I know we're talking about that right now. It's traumatic brain injury. It could be separation anxiety. There's so many mental health issues that it used to just get pushed under the carpet. And even when I was a special operator, like we would never go to like sitcom and go, oh, I hurt my arm, my ankle's broken. Like you just tape it up and you get back at it. And so if it's not a physical wound and it's a mental wound, which is what a lot of this is, you compartmentalize it, don't talk about it, and you keep moving forward. And you're so trained to do that when you leave that family, that brotherhood or that sisterhood, you're no longer part of that group, and you get back into the civilian world, and you're like, wow, all these people are different than me. But the truth is, a lot of them understand what you're going through, but you're not asking for the help.
Right.
So what Kevin's doing is absolutely amazing. You know, it blows away.
So Kevin, back to people that do finally reach out, and I totally agree with Darin that people kind of maybe are embarrassed. They may not realize they have a certain problem. They may not know where to go. But once they find you, what's the process for somebody that either wants to get help themselves or they know somebody that needs help? How do they do that?
They just get them in contact with me, and we have a discussion over the phone, and I find out if they're a good candidate for the program, which they all are basically. Because if you boil down to it,
what makes a good candidate?
Well, you've got to be at the point to where you really want help. If you're at the point to where you're just trying to check things out or see if this is better than any other program that you've been through, and in order to come to our program, you got to be 100% vulnerable. If you're not going to come in here and be vulnerable to me, the staff, and the horses, do everybody a favor and stay home, because you're not ready yet. I mean, it's that simple. Don't waste all my donors' money. Don't waste your time getting on a flight and coming here, even if it's free, because you're not going to be helped. Right. It's totally up to you. And that's the one part in the program that I have no control over. You've got to be vulnerable. I can't make you be vulnerable. You've got to change that within yourself. Who wants to hear that they need help?
I think that's so true about almost anyone that comes for help. Like if people come for me to help for business or whatever, and they've already got all the answers, you can't hardly help them. And for you, and really for anybody that needs help, the best thing is somebody that will put down their guard and put down their I know the best for me, and let somebody else take over. So when somebody finds you, they have a phone call and they are a good fit, what happens next?
Well, then we usually get them in either the next class or one coming up that they can fit their schedule to. And if they're around the country, like I've got one coming from Pennsylvania for the next class, or I've got one coming from New York, we'll fly them in. It's a 3-day program. We'll fly them in on Friday, pick them up at the airport. We usually take them somewhere to get something to eat. If it's an early flight, I'll bring them out to the ranch, kind of just get them acclimated to where they're going to be the next day, so it kind of eases their mind, and bring them back to the hotel. Then the next morning, we'll bring them to our headquarters, into the cabin, and we do PowerPoint presentation the first half of the day to learn about horses, horse behavior, horseanality, the techniques you'll use out in the round pen. And then they go practice without a horse. And this is the part you guys would love, because old Kev gets to be the horse at first. So I've got to go out there and be silent and work just like a horse is going to work them, basically. And I'm just as stubborn as the horses are going to be, because they've got to get that ability honed in, so when the horses do come out there, that they feel comfortable with the way they have to direct the horse. And then they go work one-on-one with the horse that I choose for them based on their personality. And they're changed forever. Everyone that's been through here. And it's remarkable the changes they go through, not only in the program, but within their life and what they do beyond the walls of Warrior Horse.
So do you ever have people not want to leave? Or do you have people that come back for a second round?
No, this is a once in a lifetime experience. But what we do provide, especially locally here, is they're going to bond with the horse. And whichever horse it is, that horse is going to remember them from now on. So it's not unusual for my phone to ring and hear somebody at the other end, man, can I come see my buddy today? Absolutely. Because for the locals, if they're having a bad day, the bond has already been made. So it's just instant relief when they get within 10 feet of their horse.
Really? Yeah.
Yes.
Even you're helping veterans, not necessarily the younger veterans that are just coming out of a war or an unfortunate situation. You're helping veterans from Vietnam era, from many eras, correct?
Oh yeah. I mean, this last class we had one that had been with the VA actually as a counselor for 30 years, working on everybody else's problems, and finally decided that something's got to change. So he came in, had a 25-year-old, 7 TBIs. He was a explosive expert. I had one class, we had Mogadishu, we had Vietnam, we had Panama, we had Afghanistan, and we had Iraq. And, it's every generation. Right. And man, after they make that bond, every one of them, when we come back into the classroom, they're themselves again. They're the person that they were before they joined the service, before the trauma occurred. That's awesome. Look, when that happens, Kev just rolls his chair back and soaks it in like a sponge, because I never thought of that as part of the program. My job is to get them to make the bond and get the release. And they just come in here and start unloading their baggage and start talking about it. And then when they leave here, they've got tools that they didn't have when they entered the property to be able to use the rest of their lives with different relationships. And if they've already talked about it once, guess what? It gets easier the next time you talk about it.
You kind of broke that ice and kind of, like tonight, I had COVID and I couldn't smell for 2 months. And I walked out and listened and I could smell food for once. And for all of a sudden I felt like, okay, it's coming back. And like for you kind of let them see their old self again, or maybe they felt like their old self again and realize kind of a base point to start from again, But one last question on that. You also help people that aren't necessarily veterans. I mean, you helped like first responders too and things like that. Is that right?
Right. We expanded the program to first responders and medical professionals as well. So in the last class, I had a fire chief and a captain come in. I invited them in as observers, of course, because they don't want to admit that they're dealing with stuff that needs to be handled. So they came in on a professional level to see how we can use the program within their realm of the industry. And they left being helped on a personal level. And then I had a veteran that had come through the program before that his daughter had already written the letter. She was fixing to check out.
Oh, that letter.
Yes. So he got a hold of me. He said, dude, my heart's broke. I said, well, mine is too. I said, look here, get a hold of her, get in this week, you and her come to the program. So I shut everything down and worked with them one-on-one. So, we've all gone through trauma. Nobody that gets to that point usually just jumps up and throws her hand in there and says, oh, I'm thinking about killing myself. Anybody want to help out and change my mind? That's the bottom line is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Darin, they don't want to say anything to anybody because anybody is going to judge them. They might call them weak. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of times people don't want to share what's going on with themselves, and they think the easiest thing and best for everyone around them is for them to take their own life. And you know what? We've been in a society for years that you never want to talk about it. It's this is a problem. When now we try to bring it out more in the open. And one of the good things about the VFW, I was going to mention this earlier when you were talking, Kevin, is I can be sitting at the VFW talking to a guy or girl who's in their 70s that was in the Vietnam War, and talking to someone that just got out of the military who's 25 years old, and we all have similar stories, and we can relate to each other, but we have to communicate, right? So as soon as you stop communicating, you get put in this mental rut, and then you don't ask for help, but most importantly, you don't show that you need the help, and then you think the best thing is, hey, I don't want to burden anyone with my problems, so I'm going to check out. Yeah. And then once that individual realizes that their life's way more valuable than that they are going to continue to bring value to people in their immediate circle or in the future in the world, then once they get that hope or that spark back that they had maybe when they just got out of boot camp or when they just signed up to go in the military. And it's interesting about the horses because horses, and I only know from going down to see your place when we were doing the events down there, I was blown away. The huge, you said 1,500 pounds. They seemed like they were 20,000 pounds to me. I was like blown away. But I did leave there, and I didn't go through any program. I just was there filming and petting horses and talking to you and putting a cowboy hat on. And I can tell you, I left there going, this place is pretty legit, And I think when I volunteer at the VFW and I'm like, cooking up the hash and making eggs, I feel good when I leave there because I know that I'm helping people that need help, want help, don't want to ask for help. But the more we all communicate about it, it becomes a public information, and then it's not an uncomfortable thing.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys a tactical question. Well, first question. I know you love stats, Darin. So is it still 22 vets take their lives?
No. I think it's, and I was just at a VFW meeting actually last night. So we have a monthly meeting, and we had a lady come in, and I really wish I remember her name. She was amazing. So she spoke for the first 30 minutes of our member meeting, and it was on veteran suicide. And the number she said, and again, I'm not a stat person, so I'm not going to back this setup, but I can tell you her information seemed pretty legit to me. It was like 27.5 a day.
Oh, so it's going up, not down.
Going up. And where I live in Hamilton County in Carmel, Indiana, and our county has the highest suicide rate for veterans of last month. I might be saying that, or it might be the month before, for the whole state of Indiana. So we're trying to do a big push to figure out, okay, how can we reach out to the people that need help that aren't asking for help? That's the problem. If you ask for help, we can get you help, right? If I
Right.
have a problem and I call Kevin, I can guarantee you he'll get on a plane, fly here, and put me on a plane with him and fly back, right? I know that for a fact. But if I sit in my room and I don't tell anyone, there's no way Kevin knows I need help. So
Well,
that's
one
what,
time a guy explained to me like what PTSD was like, and it said, he had a cell phone, and he said this cell phone and your cell phone, everybody's cell phone looks right from the outside, but this one won't turn on. It won't. You can't tell it from the outside. You can't tell it till you try to engage it. And so, what are some of the? I mean, I know you guys aren't doctors and anything. I'm not going to hold you to anything, but if somebody wants to try, what's some of the signs that you see that would trigger somebody to try to get help?
Well, a lot of the ones I see are sleeplessness, depression, alcohol, drugs, solitary. They won't go. They won't leave their homes. They won't go anywhere in public. And then a lot of them I find that are existing, but not really living. Man, they can hide it with the best of anything. Some of them don't show any outward signs to humans at all.
Right.
What about you, Darin?
yeah. I mean, I think I'm the furthest from a doctor, just to be very clear on that. And my expertise on that is only my personal experience, but I would agree 100%. I think when you're talking to an individual and there's nothing wrong with them, there could potentially be something. So it's about communicating and making that person feel comfortable enough to open up to you and share what's really going on. And a lot of times, an individual won't do that. So you have to put them in an environment or an atmosphere that can happen. And again, I've got to go back and give Kevin props, because you're finally getting an individual that is accepting they're going to try the therapy, right? Or the horse communication. And so once they get past that road, once they get them there, then the horses are going to do their job, right?
Exactly.
And it's the same thing when you're at the VFW or the American Legion, and the individual is sitting at the table or sitting at the bar, and he or she's just not talking to anyone, and you go up to them and just say, hey, let me buy you a beer. There's so many things that we can do that we can help veterans and or the veteran community. I always say this, like, the things that we can do for free. Go volunteer. Go volunteer at the local VFW. Put a flag. I was a keynote speaker for the city for Memorial Day, and one of my big takeaways was raise a flag in your front yard. When you see a veteran, just thank them, and you don't have to thank them, be like this fake thank you for your service when you have no idea what they did or didn't do. Just thank them. Just thank them for just being there.
Yeah.
Ask them their story, because a lot of times once you communicate to an individual and you say, hey, share your story, especially if it's over a beer, they get a little looser. If they're not drinking, over a coffee, meet them in the morning. If you show attention to them, they'll open up more to you, and they'll feel better about their story or their existence, and then they're not going to have as many bad thoughts of going, hey, you know what, I'm not cool with what's going on in my life. I've got a meeting, I've got to go talk to Kevin, I've got breakfast with him. I can't miss that because he's a good guy. He invited me out to go see the horses. I don't know what all that is. I don't believe in it, but I'll give it a shot. Those are the people that we want to help.
I was working with a high-level military guy once that was having some problems, and one of the issues was he's always been a leader, and he's a leader of men. And then to have to then be not the leader and be submissive or be vulnerable when you're brought up to be a certain way and you think of yourself as a certain way, you can't let that down. You can't put the weight of that leadership and the weight of your ego or whatever down, therefore you just build it on yourself. And when I was working with him, I knew I had to have almost a high level guy or high level program that spoke on his level. And I think to me, when I saw that, because there was just some like standard, I don't know, the people that were trying to help him didn't have his respect, basically. And so he wasn't going to listen to him. But when you could get to somebody that he could speak to on a respect level, then all of a sudden he could open up and be real. And I think, Kevin, the reason your program makes sense is on that level, he's going to have to respect the horse. The horse doesn't care. He doesn't care what rank he was or what level it was. You've got to let all that down. You got to let your baggage down and come to a place with something that's going to have to respect you back. And then all of a sudden you can kind of, get past your own, what's in your head.
And Mark, think about our industry, specifically the chimney professionals, right? If you think about when we go to a trade show, whether it's the NCSG show or whatever the show is, right? When we're all together, the feeling that we all have leaving there, whether you're a vendor or you're the chimney guy, you're a one-man show, you're a 20 truck operation. When you leave there, you had drinks, dinner, you've seen the new stuff that's out there. But the best part about that is being able to communicate with everyone. And that's the same thing that we're doing with veterans. And we have a lot of veterans in our industry that I can tell you that always reach out to me and go, hey, man, I like what you're doing. How can I get involved?
Yeah.
There's so much opportunity that I think if you take the time and the day to do it, not only will you feel good inside yourself, you'll help yourself. Because down deep, everyone can always get a little help, right?
Yeah.
If you're perfect, let me know and then teach me how to do it, because I haven't figured it out yet.
Exactly. So, Kevin, you started to say something when I talked about, letting your ego down, putting your leadership down, and kind of succumbing or being not submissive, but kind of being one with something else. You started to say something about that.
Yeah, well, what it is, I mean, you think about it, we're sitting here having a conversation, right? Horses don't know the English language. So you're communicating with a 1,500, 2,000 pound animal in their language, which is body language. And that's all it is. It's just body language. You're using your body with the same way that they deal with one another. And you've got to work it out. You've got to let your guard down. Because here's the deal, Kevin can get out there with any horse and I can have him eating out of the palm of my hand in less than 10 minutes because I can read them like a book because I know their language and I know how to bring them in. But the people that come down here, they haven't spent thousands of hours individually with the horses. They get stuck with whoever I pick for them. And I got one good one for you, Darin, when you come down. His name is Peanut. But
Peanut.
What Darin was saying, talk to somebody, ask them their story. Why don't we just do that with everybody? Right? Why does it have to be a veteran or first responder? If everybody in the world, if their goal tomorrow was to get up and get to go know somebody, a total stranger. Today, my goal is to go make someone's life better, attempt to make someone's life better by getting to know them and let them tell me their story and make a connection with another human being that just wants to know. Would that not change the world?
It's so good. It's so right. I mean, even in my company, I'm sure it happens with Darin's, because sometimes we don't know the employees that well, but even if we do, if we take it out of business and ask them about themselves and really talk to them about their life, it helps everybody. And if there's one commonality, it's like the guy cares, like the boss cares, that Kevin cares, Darin cares, Mark cares. And then if you want to have a growing company, make sure you care about your people, like truly care about them, like really ask the questions.
Yeah, I think it was Anthony Bourdain that said, obviously he's not with us anymore, but he said, if you want to do something that's going to change your life, I'm not talking about changing anyone else's life. You want to do something that's going to change your life, which in turn will change someone else's life. Go to someplace you've never been. Go to a restaurant you've never eaten at. Order something you've never had before. Talk to the server or the bartender. Ask them questions that you've never asked anyone before, and let them ask you the same questions.
Yeah.
And have a conversation with an absolute stranger, and
Yeah.
and you do something completely different than you would ever do. And I can tell you, you'll end up making that. When I read that, I was like, it's so true. I know how many times I've been to like a different town. I just ran into a place. I was like, I'm going to try this place out. And when you end up meeting a perfect stranger, you might even pass your number back with them, and maybe they'll reach out to you, maybe they won't. But at the end of the day, that story you have, they have the same story that they're going to share with someone else too.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens.
Exactly.
And it's real.
And you remember when we were over in Dallas at the last Warrior Leadership, you helped get Kevin to another conference right after.
I did. That's right.
I had an Uber driver pick me up at the airport down in Naples. And when I left Naples, she'd left me her number. She said, "You call me, don't call anybody else. I want to come pick you up." On the way to the airport, she's looking in her rear view mirror and she said, "Kevin, I will follow you and help you do anything." She said, "You just let me know." Because I did exactly that. I asked her about her life. Do you have children? What is it that you're striving to do? It was about her. It wasn't about me.
Right.
But the one thing that you two don't know is that I am more selfish than anybody else that you know. Because the feeling that I get out there at that round pen, every time an individual is in there with the horse, it's selfish because it makes me feel so good that I had a tiniest part of being able to get somebody to go from existing to living again. Because when they leave, they've got a family, they've got a wife, spouse, children, friends, and they get to go back and develop those relationships even stronger again. Excuse me, because of the experience that they had in the round pen.
Well, keep being selfish, Kevin. We'll accept you being that selfish.
Okay.
But there is some truth in giving is good for us too, right? We that give, you kind of get addicted to it sometimes, and because you do like that for yourself that you're helping, because what a miserable existence to just live for yourself. Like that, no amount of money, no amount of any toys or whatever can help if you don't help others. There becomes a level, that you have to help. If you don't, you turn into a giant butthole. But so, and then somebody, and I think this might be still Alan. What a great program, Kevin. Proud of you, buddy. Guys, I really appreciate your time tonight. It means a lot. And I want to thank you both for your service, Darin, and your commitment, Kevin, to both of you have a huge commitment to our industry and a huge commitment to veterans. And on the Veterans Day week, I want to thank both of you for joining us and bringing attention to both of your programs.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Kevin, for everything you do. And Mark, obviously, thank you so much for everything you do and allowing us on your show to, share what's going on out there.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
Nice. Thank you.
Oh, man, I love those guys. They are truly two very giving people, and they are as real as they get. There's nothing fake about them. There's no pretentiousness. They are exactly who you saw tonight. And I think, two things. One, please help others. And two, if you want to develop something, if you've got a passion like Kevin did in his heart to make something, it was just burning to help, reach out. Don't go, there's a who, not how. Don't think, how can I do this? Think, who can help me do this? You're going to be surprised how many people really do want to help. And if you've got a passion there's a big group of people that will get behind you, and they want to see you win. They want to see if you can cast a vision, people want to help you see it come through. So guys, thanks for joining us on SureFire Live tonight. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.